What's up, y'all? This is John and Mike back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. And this episode is being done a day early because Hurricane Idalia chose a not ideal time to show up, considering it is the first day, or going to be the first week of college football. Um, and there's probably a what 80% chance that either or both of us don't have power tomorrow.
Yeah, fuck Adalia.
Not Vidalia.
Disavow.
Those are good onions.
Idalia.
Yeah. See, it's the selfish Vidalia. It's all about I.
Yeah. Not the the onions too. You know what? Get the smoke too. Why not?
I've never had a smoked onion. Maybe we could try it. Um,
Yeah, there we go.
Gentlemen, how we feeling?
doing all
Will, what's
right.
up,
How are
dude?
you, man?
Chilling, man. Chilling.
So we are still excited, even though it's a day early, and I potentially won't even get to watch the Florida Utah game to talk about Week One. And today we are doing our first Calling the Dog segment. So when you guys leave us voicemails of your best WWE style promos, we're going to share them with you guys. And as always, if you're drunk and obnoxious like we hope you are after a game, call us with some funny shit and you might get on too. But
Cool, man.
tonight
Yeah.
we have Will Ogburn of the Saturday Down South podcast on to talk about the highest profile game of the weekend, and that is Florida State and LSU, which somehow the stadium they chose is Orlando. But
Oh yeah, don't
Central
don't you worry,
location.
buddy. I'm going to two football games. I'm going to UCF Kent State in the Bounce House. So this is the nicest stadium I'll be in this weekend because I had to be there for UCF's first Big 12 game, as we all know.
Yeah.
And the best part of it is I'm flying into a hurricane so I can watch a UCF game. A thing that all smart people do. So I've been trying to figure that out all day. But yeah, one of my best friends just graduated from UCF, so we're doing that. But yeah, the Citrus Bowl is it's a little bit of a home away from home for me. I used to cover MLS soccer in there back when I was in college. So yeah, it's a historic venue, of course.
Historic, very definitely. Very, very,
Uh-huh.
very.
all right, so this is going to be a little bit down and dirty, quicker episode than we normally do. So, first question is, what are you guys drinking?
Oh man. So I have a Liquid Death Arnold Palmer and
Oh,
a
I didn't really
C4
make
energy
those.
drink. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, man. Not to do a free plug, but I always keep two different flavors of Liquid Death. There's a peach tea and an Arnold Palmer that are like they have like electrolytes and they keep you hydrated. They're awesome.
wow.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
You just blew my mind more than anything
Yeah.
you can say about LSU.
Starting off hot, all right.
There we go.
Mike, what about you?
All right. So in honor of Will being here, I got the finest liquor known to New Orleans, and that is Southern Comfort because I drink like a fucking child, and I don't try anything different.
Hey man, there's nothing wrong with some SoCo.
I
Oh,
will
oh,
say Buffalo Trace owns Sazerac Rye, which is made in New Orleans. So
hmm.
that's another solid choice if you're going that way. Um, I'm recycling because I have no idea what I drank on the show before. But this is a Elijah Craig private barrel from a local liquor store. It is barrel proof, so it is 63% alcohol and 9 years
Oh.
old. Um,
So if your generator dies, you can pour that in there and it'll be good to go.
oh
There
no,
we
this
go.
costs too much. This costs more
That's
than
fair. Yeah.
I'll go without power. It'll be fine. I got between liquor and other things. If I am sober while the power's out, there's a problem.
Hmm. Well, hey man,
Same.
would you rather be have no power or watching Graham Mertz?
Watching Graham Mertz, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it is week one.
Just,
That's the thing. It's just like
just,
we're like crack addicts right now. I'd watch anything.
I mean, just
So
to clown on him, honestly.
Yeah.
yeah, so we were actually supposed to do a watch party and do like our commentary of the game
Hmm.
through Millions, who we're partnered with now, and I probably will not have power to do that. So I'm a little disappointed that I'm gonna have to cancel our first watch party.
The Southern tradition is just week one being somehow displaced by a hurricane. It weirdly
Hmm.
has happened to UCF like almost every year, and like Florida deals with it, LSU deals with it. So welcome to it, man. It's a fun time. You're now a coastal resident, so you get to be part of it too.
you know, thanks to Idalia, I think both Mike and I are having our hurricane cherries pop tomorrow, so it's a big day for us.
Yeah.
Really?
It because we've had a couple near misses. Now we were running on Tybee Island when we first moved here. We did have a tropical storm come through, but it only hit us for like maybe 20 minutes, and that like scared the shit out of us. So kind of looking forward to it just to see what it's like, but hopefully, not too much. I have so many dead trees
Mhm.
to the left side of my house that I am a little bit worried, but I mean, let's knock it out.
Yeah, you get kind of numb to it, right? I actually stayed home for Hurricane Katrina, so I watched like the Eye
Oh
of
shit.
Katrina pass over my house and Rita too. And I was joking with my boss today. It's like that was when I was, let's see, '05. I would have been in like fifth grade. So that was kind of my childhood. So now every hurricane, I'm just like, well, you can't be worse than that. So it's like I should be much more scared than I am. But once you're past a couple of them, the fear kind of dies down. You realize it's like, well, this is just some bonding time with me and my dogs and my family.
Even living in Detroit, like I remember, I think that was my freshman or maybe sophomore year of high school, and I mean, we did like fundraisers and shit for it. So like, it
Mhm.
was wild. I can't believe even did that. We had the thought to actually do that because high school kids, middle school kids, very selfish.
Yeah, no,
You
true. I
know,
mean, hey, that was an all-time Kanye West clip. So, it
Yeah.
really affected America.
I will say if you guys see any Red Cross messages across college football for Hurricane Idalia, go ahead and donate some money. You never know, your boy might get a check
Hmm.
for like 5 cents. Hey,
Yeah.
because we
But
do
yeah.
live across the street from the intercoastal waterway, so this will be interesting.
Oh, true. Well, yeah, I hope you guys stay safe. You probably won't stay dry because it will be wet, but hopefully it won't be too windy. That's where it really starts to be a problem.
Yeah, it
Yes.
said 2 to 5 inches, which way more than average. That's huge. That's a huge amount.
That's why I always tell people. It's hard for them to believe me, but I've
If
heard it's more than average.
if it's any more than five, that's devastating. That's gonna hurt
Well,
everybody.
I
Hmm.
mean, 2 to 5 inches coming in at 70 miles an hour. I mean, that's going to be impressive.
Still leave some people bruised up and just destroyed.
Hmm.
No
Hmm.
one's going to walk right the next day. All right, let's get into some football here. All right, so we had Will on for the SEC championship last season. So I
Hmm.
mean, the team is mostly the same. Very few people left this offseason. So we're going to skip a lot of that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But we're going to ask about the position groups that have changed the most. So Brian Kelly hit the transfer portal hard for the secondary this offseason. How much better should they be, and will they be able to slow down the passing attack of the Seminoles?
I'm not sure they will be better in the secondary. Honestly, I think the offense is going to be probably better because it's rare. You guys know it. As Georgia fans, it's rare to retain an offensive coordinator these days. And so one of the longest tenured OCs in the SEC is currently LSU, which is strange because he's in year two. But yeah, I think that, you guys know how the transfer portal works, right? I mean, it's sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. Georgia has not had to do a ton. They've had a couple of luxury guys really come in. It's been more of a door out. But you guys know, I mean, it's last year we happened to hit almost all of our transfer DBs. And they played well. This year, they have a couple of guys, Alexander, Chestnut, and obviously Denver Harris, the infamous Denver Harris. So yeah, it's a lot of mercurial guys, a lot of up and down guys, a lot of guys that it's funny. There's two kinds of guys in the transfer portal: guys that had offers from schools like the ones that we reroute to and decide to go other places. And then there's the guys who didn't get looked at by SEC schools and played above that level. And so LSU is a couple of those guys. But yeah, I think that you're exactly right. The defensive backfield's completely redone. They have a couple of familiar faces at safety, but really the corner rotation is the group I'm probably the most worried about because it's some dudes that met each other a couple of months ago, for being honest.
Good old. I think LSU may have the best name combination for secondary. You know,
Hmm.
you got some names. You got Chestnut. You got Major Burns.
Major Burns, Georgia,
Anytime
Major
great. Yeah.
Burns.
anytime you put Major Burns as a name, it elevates the name level of that group. Period.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, he's been solid. At least he's been one of the most consistent guys coming back. So as funny as it is when he gets burned, it's like, dang. We need a lot of major burns. We need minor burns actually.
Like first degree,
Right,
definitely.
like first degree burns would be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, you got the second one?
All right. So with Mason Smith being suspended for the game, is the defensive line able to get after Jordan Travis and the running backs?
Yeah, so I hate the situation, love the question. I think that LSU coming in last year felt so great about the front seven. Mekhi Wingo was a guy who look at us, just an embarrassment of riches of Mizzou transfers. Wingo was awesome, really saved our season honestly last year because we really just thought we had Smith and he came in and was a godsend. But yeah, I think that Brian Kelly finally came out and Brian Kelly's been like cool, chill. Brian Kelly, he's kind of doing a little bit of the Gus Malzahn where he changed jobs and has like remade himself. And he finally had kept something up his sleeve, which is that he told everyone Harold Perkins was going to play like a standard middle linebacker. And a couple of days ago, he was finally like, no, we're going to get Omar Spates, the transfer from Oregon State, to really play middle linebacker. Radical concept, first team all Pac 12 linebacker playing middle linebacker.
Right.
And then we're going to get Harold Perkins to kind of just play this Captain Chaos role. And what I've been heard it described as like how Micah Parsons was as a rookie, where they just kind of line him up all over. He can cover a little bit, but mainly he's going to be someone that the offensive line just needs to communicate about. And even if he doesn't do something, there's a couple of guys looking at him. So I think that actually playing Harold Perkins in a role that seems a little bit more conductive to him versus Brian Kelly just insisting on jamming a square peg in a round hole. I'm pretty excited about that from the pass rush. But yeah, again, behind the first line of guys, we have some dudes that are third, fourth, fifth year players that probably wouldn't have gotten a shot at LSU. So we'll see. Wingo was remarkably healthy last year, but I do think that Harold Perkins is going to be a massive X factor as a pass rusher, and Brian Kelly finally decided to just pull back the veil now that Mason Smith won't be there.
So you already answered this question, so I'm going to change it slightly. You called Harold Perkins Captain Chaos. I have
Mm-hmm.
called him a human heat-seeking missile.
Mm-hmm.
Which one, what is the best name you have heard him called?
Oh man, I mean, I call him Ricky Bobby sometimes in the podcast because he does have that little bit of a like mentality where it's just like see ball, get ball. I think that we really need like an official Harold Perkins nicknames. I think that's going to be on the media, the Cajun people, but there's not really one that I'm locked into yet. I think that's the evaluation we're doing this year.
Mhm.
Okay. We'll have to we'll have to see if Drew Page can get a poll going at about week 6.
There you go. Yeah, that'd be the way to do it.
Do not have him do a bracket. People get pissed off about it.
People get so mad at the strangest things, man. Just it's like, guys,
Yeah.
we can't talk about our like backup guard depth. Like, who has the best guard room in the SEC? Like, it's got to be. This is life. We're all living life together, you know.
It's honestly one of my favorite things during the
Me
It
too.
really is. Mine too.
That's the thing is like you can't, if you have like a sports podcast, you want to draw in all kinds of listeners, and it's like I always think about like if we're all sickos, right? Like they've already got us, so there's
Yeah.
only so much college football content for people like us. So you want to do some extra stuff. So that's why we love Drew. We love our like kind of like audience segments, which you guys do a great job in participating in those. But yeah, I think that's the stuff that's the spice of life. And if we just sat here and talked about sports all day, it would get a little bit repetitive. So I like to kind of mix it up.
Yeah, my goal is always to try to make you guys break every time.
Hmm. Oh, you can see me start to just start inhaling like some of the stuff that you've been on a roll lately with some of the comments that you left, and I'm just like
Yeah.
cracking up in the corner, and Connor's just like trying to be unfazed by it. It's been great.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people question how true some of the stories that I put in there are, but I have not told a single lie.
Oh, and I always qualify them by like, if this were true for a person, it would be this person.
Like almost getting abducted by the cartel in Mexico, correct.
Hmm.
Flipping my
Hmm.
Jeep down a mountain and getting saved by a pine tree smaller than my wrist, correct.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah, you had the Jeep story with the kid with the machine gun, right?
yeah.
Yeah, Mexico, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a true
that yeah, that was insane. But again, very believable because it's not even a top five story you've told
story.
me.
The best thing about bad decisions is good stories.
Hmm.
Fair.
Yeah, 100%. And like not to do like, podcast like plugs or whatever, but that's why I love me and Connor as a pairing because Connor is very regimented and his life always goes a certain way. And I have a little bit of like that Harold Perkins in me. Like I was flying in from Austin at 2 a.m. last night, and I'm always trying to do something, because I just feel like, especially if we're all kind of like at this point in our life where we're not quite, old, you know what I'm saying? We're still in that kind of like prime of our lives, and we'll have lots of fun stories to tell our kids one day. So that's what I want to have is a lot of stories, and then I feel like that's the goal of life, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
So,
for sure.
do you love Austin as much as I love Austin?
That was actually my first time going. I had a wonderful tour guide. I got to see a lot of the really fun, like local spots. The food there is honestly better than Atlanta. I would put
Correct.
them for me. Those are
Ooh,
my two favorite cities in America right now.
okay. Hmm.
Austin, I have said this many times. At this point in my life, if I were to leave Savannah, it would be for somewhere within an hour of Austin. I love it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's super cool, and that's like what I said on the pod is it's like you feel like it's a college town because you always hear about the University of Texas, but it's like Columbus. It's like one of these huge cities that just has a stadium inside of it. So yeah, I think there are people that are in no way associated with UT, and there's like a whole subculture of music and stuff like that. I love culture in a city. Like that's my thing. I'm from Louisiana. I
Yes.
can't live in some just like bland place. It's got to have some a little bit of pizzazz to it. So I love all of Texas, but also I think it's my favorite place there.
Okay.
All right, back to football.
Hmm.
All right. So the offensive line had some struggles last season against the more elite defenses. Has the line improved enough to protect Jaden Daniels from this good FSU defensive front?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that was, and I unfortunately attended the LSU loss. Let me ask you guys a quick question. What is the worst Georgia loss you've attended in person?
2019 South Carolina.
That's a good one.
Ooh. Honestly, okay, so this is bad because obviously I went to school there. I've
Hmm.
only gone to a couple games, so they haven't lost any of them, so I can't answer it.
So you're
Okay.
good luck.
Yeah.
Okay. 2019 South Carolina or 2015 at home against Bama.
I think the
Losing
2015 one's well,
losing to Bama's never bad. That's the thing.
So
Even
the
if you almost
but
reason,
beat
they're
them,
but
it's
wait,
still
but
losing to
Georgia was
Bama.
favored in that game for like the first time in the first time Bama was an underdog in forever, even at that point, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like losing to Bama can. I listen. We lost to Bama like 10 straight times. There were some bad ones in there, but at the end of the day, I went, "Dang it, we lost to Alabama." The time we lost to like Troy, I was like,
Yeah.
"We're a Mickey Mouse program." Oh, but yeah, I think my least. I've seen some doozies in person, but I think my least favorite game I've attended was that FSU game last year. The fact that LSU came all the way back, and then
Mm.
Mason Taylor was the one who missed the block, which is so crazy to think of now. He was the only tight end on the roster. Um, After Cole Taylor of shoe throwing fame left, and it was just freshman Mason Taylor, and he obviously made the play to win the Bama game, so definitely redeemed himself. But yeah, point being, I think that. Sorry, what was the initial question? That just like hit me as far as it was a bad game last year.
is the offensive line good
Oh,
enough
got you.
to
Sorry.
hold up?
So there we go. Sorry. So where I was going with that was in the first game last year, they had a first time center who snapped the ball over his head. The change came when they started two freshman tackles. Like the line got
Yeah.
better when they started two freshman tackles, and one is Will Campbell, who's a dog. The other is Emory Jones, the most talented Emory Jones in SEC history. Wow, he I don't think is long term going to play there. I think that was kind of a pinch start, but he did an amazing job back half of the year. So Will Campbell's a beast. I think that having these guys in the Brian Kelly system, and as much as we can slander Notre Dame and Brian Kelly when he did, you guys, beat him bad the couple of times y'all played. He has been able to develop these offensive linemen. He's been able to develop guys at every offensive line position, even the interior. So that's the one aspect of the team I really trust him in. And then his evaluations I trust more than almost anyone. And we've seen it so far. The amount of nasty these guys have played with, I think, has been really nice. And you guys know, I mean, coming from like the Rick years where Kirby had a year to turn it around, offensive line and defensive line are usually the ones that are the hardest to turn around. And I feel like in about a half season, we're able to do it now. Will that be able to counteract what FSU has been building for years and years and years? I don't know, but it's not a worry for me the way that defensive back is.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure. So, piggybacking on the offensive line, the running back situation is just weird. There's not really a better way to describe it, at least before the season. So, I mean, obviously they have a ton of talent, probably one of the most talented rooms top to bottom in the SEC. But which guys stand out the most in this game and for the season?
So I think that and this is just such a funny move by Brian Kelly. We have 8 running backs. So he was just like, you know what? One of y'all's gonna figure this out. We're just gonna keep adding dudes until you guys start to see your carries diminish. And then whichever y'all has that dog in you, that's the one. And again, you guys have seen this at
He
Georgia
did
where
the
someone
anti-Oprah Winfrey. He just said, "I get a running back, and I get another running back, and I get
you
another
get no
running
carries. You get no carries. Yeah,
Yes.
and you guys have seen it. Like some of the Georgia guys that have been these 5-star studs have been awesome, but some of the guys that have been like our favorite players have been the Josh Williams type guys that have come in and been unheralded. We have a mix of everyone on that team. So I like Noah Kane. I like John Emery. But the young guys, man, I mean, we're gonna see what's his name, Caleb Jackson on punt returns. So some of these guys it's funny because you have the old legacy Coach O guys, and then you have the young guys that have a little bit more of the Brian Kelly system fit. Diggs is another guy that has really gone under the radar, former Notre Dame starter from Louisiana that played for Kelly. So yeah, I really do think it's going to be a rotation. And last year Noah Kane started this game and didn't have really an impact on the season. Armani Goodwin is another guy that I've loved forever out of Auburn High School. And obviously between us and Auburn, and I think Georgia was up there as well. But he's super fast. So really, it just is whoever has that dog in them because the reps are going to be so limited that they're going to go with the hot hand whenever someone gets hot.
I will say I'm still very disappointed that John Emery did not come to Georgia, as my
Yep.
first name being John and one of my middle names being Emery.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be an amazing jersey opportunity for me that he decided to take. So I
Selfishly.
still a little salty, if I'm being
I think
honest.
you guys have been fine. And I think he's a guy that hasn't ever quite played up to his potential. I think that you see it in bursts. But we all saw his highlights, right? I mean, I remember it was actually right after the 2018 LSU Georgia game that that shift happened between the two teams. And I was like, oh my gosh, we got this 5-star, we're on top of the world. And him and Sage Ryan have been kind of the two guys where it's like, let's see it. Let's see what we saw. And so hopefully he finds this will be his last year. Hopefully that would be my dream to answer your question. If John Emery is just the guy and and we just don't have to use those other guys because we've seen it and he has the speed, he has the power, but just can't do it consistently, and can't stay on the field for weird reasons.
All right, so let's move on to this last question here. So I know Keishawn Bussy, Booty.
This is what I'm talking about. I'd be so locked in listening. I'm like this guy.
Wait, did did you say
Keishawn
Bussy
Bussy,
with a B or P?
B.
Oh,
That's
that's what I
that's
call
like when
Bucky's.
Bussies. That's a good one.
Boosies.
That's like when Connor initially thought your name was Michael Darkey, and I was like, let's err on the side of not that one. Just if we don't know,
It's a slur, Connor.
maybe don't call him that if we're not sure that's his name.
I tell
And
kids all the
thing
time
is,
when they call me when they call me darky, I'm like, that is a slur. You
Mm-mm.
are in trouble right now.
the
You're
funniest
dumb.
thing is,
Was
he
there a
was
question?
corrected multiple times and kept saying it.
He's locked in.
I know my last name's kind of weird because I've never met another dark in the wild, but it's funny. It's old English.
Of course, ye old dark.
Yeah, yeah, right. So all right, so Keishawn Booty, Booty, whatever, however you want to
His
say
name
it.
is Booty. That's the
Uh,
thing. You don't even have to mess with it to make it funny. His name is just Booty.
Booty. All right, so Keishawn Booty didn't have a large role in 2022 in the 2022 offense as big as people had hoped. But who fills that spot this year?
Yeah. So oh my gosh, who's the dude at Mizzou that Robert Griffin was obsessed with in the Georgia game? That was like the 5-star.
Bolden?
Luther
Um,
Burden?
Burden,
Luther
yeah.
Burden, right? So they were both in very similar territory in 2022, where the hype was here and the production was here. But yeah, I mean, Neighbors was that guy last year. It was. You look up at the end of the year and you realize he's made every big play. He's leading the team in receiving. He's a dog. He gets every jump ball. He's consistent. He runs tight routes. He's everything you want to see in an LSU receiver. But our focus was it was like Booty was like the dime. It was like the meme of the dude who's looking at the hot girl. That was Kayshawn Booty when we had Steak at home, and that was Neighbors. So Neighbors is obviously projected to do great things this year. One thing about LSU is that when players are good, it's out of nowhere. and when they're expected to be good, they're trash. That's one thing you can just count on for LSU Tigers. So last year, Booty was supposed to be good. He was trash. Neighbors was not supposed to be good. He was good. I've seen this play enough times to know that Neighbors will not be as effective this year as last year. However, we do have Aaron Anderson from Bama. We have Chris Hilton back, who I'm really excited about. Brian Thomas. So LSU has an amazing off the bus team of wide receivers, like a bunch of physical freaks, a bunch of guys that can go up and get the ball, and hopefully that's going to give Jaden Daniels a little bit more BDE with throwing jump balls, because we do have the talent to win some of those one-on-one matchups. But yeah, I think Neighbors is as good as you're going to get in the SEC.
All right, so last thing, we're going to have you pick a couple of games for us. And we're going to start it off Thursday night in Salt Lake, Florida at Utah. Utah is currently favored by 6.5, over under 44.5. You don't have to pick on those, just for your information is what those are.
It's coming down, man. There's no new info about Rising, I'm guessing. I mean, I think that it could be, if he plays, it could be a blow up for Utah. That game last year was so funny, man. Like, I was furious because imagine me, like, we hired Brian Kelly, they hired Napier. We lose in this embarrassing way to FSU, and we were projected to win, and they somehow beat Utah, who's like Conrad in the playoff last year. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my gosh, Napier won the LSU job. We told him no. What did we do? But yeah, I just don't see that happening twice in a row. I don't know. I mean, I understand that Rising has been there forever, but even if he doesn't play, it just seems like I was kind of doing this earlier today, actually looking at the Utah quarterbacks that have come through, and they've all been good. So it almost it matters if he plays. I'm not going to downplay it, but I don't think they're just going to throw some bum out there. And we know who Graham Mertz is, so picking Utah.
Yeah, and I said it earlier in the week. I think you would literally have to handcuff Cam Rising to the bench to not get him to play. Dude's just a fucking dog.
Yeah, he's in that interesting situation where we know that he's not really going to be an NFL quarterback, so he's just choosing when his last football game is going to be at this point, like how many he has left in him. And guys like that are dangerous. It's like a caged dog, because it's like, I don't have to protect my body. This is for, me picking up my kids in 10 years. But beyond that, this is the last chance at glory, at immortality I have. And those are the guys that often win in college.
Yeah, no, we're still hoping to do the watch party on that game, so I'm not gonna say too much. But second game, College game day is going to this one in Charlotte. You have the Tar Heels and the Gamecocks fighting for Carolina. Who do you have in this one? The line is currently UNC 2.5, over under 64.5.
Yeah, so as much as I love to be an SEC homer, I think that UNC has this one. I think that obviously they lost Phil Longo, but bringing Drake May back is a big deal. And it's kind of similar vibes with Spencer Rattler. It's like, yeah, we have Spencer Rattler back, but we've seen so much up and down from him that it's the farthest thing from consistent. So yeah, I know that there are more pieces to this than just the quarterback. But you guys remember how South Carolina started last year with it was the Georgia game where it looked like Beamer was just in over his head. He was just sitting in the press conference like this, and it took them kind of gelling together at the end of the year. And I feel like that whole offensive coordinator situation was so strange because they'd obviously already made the decision on Marcus Satterfield, and then they just reeled off two incredible games back to back, and it was like, what do we do now? And they still fired him. So yeah, I feel like they're gonna have to start from almost square one. Jaheim Bell is obviously, I got to deal with him on Sunday instead of South Carolina, so hate that for me. But yeah, I hate to my least favorite thing is when a guy like that goes to a team with other good players, and then it's like, oh, you're used to carrying the load of the whole team. Now you only got to be a piece of this one. This is a problem. So yeah, I do think that just early, I don't think North Carolina's gonna be good. I don't think they're gonna be better than South Carolina, but I think that the continuity that they have, the leadership they have from Drake May, is going to take them over the finish line.
Last, but definitely not least, one of the games you're going to in Orlando, Florida State Seminoles playing the Louisiana State Tigers. We need your pick.
Yeah, so I've honestly been back and forth on this one. It felt like more of a lock last year, and I was obviously wrong. So I think The big thing to look for in this game is the edges, right? So last year, FSU was able to rip LSU up with counter plays, and their whole front seven was just lost through the whole game. And this year, and Harold Perkins obviously did not really play in that game. I think he had like a penalty. It was just a sloppy first game for Brian Kelly. If LSU can contain Jordan Travis, who does a good job at taking the easy play, and basically it's going to be. I mean, I think you guys have been keying on it. FSU has an amazing pass rush. LSU has Harold Perkins, and so it's going to be edge rushers versus tackles. It's going to be two mobile quarterbacks. But I think that if LSU can contain that run game, and Jaden Daniels can just trust himself, I think this should be the start of a very good season for LSU.
I like it. All right, so that's all
Yeah.
we've got for you
Mhm.
today. Thank you for coming on and talking with us. It's always a great time to have you on the show. Do you want to plug anything?
No, man. I mean, you guys all know where I'm from. I appreciate you guys being dedicated listeners. I think that, that's been the best part of this whole experience. I've worked, I don't know if I've specifically told you guys this, but I've worked, SDS was my first job out of college. So I've been working with them since Leonard Fournette was a thing, and I love the opportunity to get to know y'all. And like college football is what got me kind of connected. I moved from Alabama or from Louisiana to Alabama, went to high school in Alabama, and college football just helped me make friends. So I love being able to do that as kind of an adult and just talk about the things I love. So I appreciate the opportunity, I really do. And like I'll come on, whenever and chop it up with you guys because this is honestly my favorite thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. You can go ahead and get out of here if you'd like to. We're gonna go through a few more games and all that good stuff. But thank you for coming on and talking to us.
Yes, all right. Before I go, who y'all got winning the West this year?
The West.
Ooh.
Hmm.
I have LSU. I have
How about
LSU
that?
maybe dropping one regular season game. And actually, if you got a minute, we had Connor on in the last couple of weeks. He's
Hmm.
obviously
That's weird.
drinking
That's
all of the
weird.
Alabama Kool-Aid.
Hmm.
Saban does no wrong in his eyes. Are
Right.
you in the same thought pattern with the rest of us in the questioning what do they actually have for people to be scared of, or are you in line with him?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I've been so gaslit as an LSU fan, and I think like pre-Kirby, you guys can kind of relate to this, where it's like every time we get hype, I start to be like, So
Yep.
I would rather everybody be in on Alabama for no reason than like, because naturally you'd be like, LSU has a returning starter quarterback, they have neighbors, they have Harold Perkins, they have this great offensive line. There's a lot more reasons to like LSU, but people don't want to be wrong, so they're just going to keep picking Nick Saban. But I mean,
Yep.
if you think about it, like the new coordinator Reese played for Brian Kelly and is like Kelly's like grandson on the coaching tree. Even Denbrock coached Reese. And so it's like I'm just and like Steele is just kind of a retread. Like neither of those hires really scared me in the way that they could have. Like if he had pulled out like a Dan Mullen or something as an OC, I would have been like, oh my God, oh
Or if
no,
Ryan Grubb of
but
Washington had said yes?
mm-hmm,
Would have been
mm-hmm.
huge.
And exactly. Like if it was a guy like that was just off the board, if it was Tom Herman or something like that, I would have
Ooh.
been not that
Ooh.
it's about a big
Yeah.
name, but it's just I know who Tommy Reese is. I know exactly who Tommy Reese is. LSU looked at him. I watched this guy play since he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna scare me. He's not gonna get to Alabama and just suddenly be a new human being, right? He'll probably have more talent, right? And like we talked about that a little bit with like Bobo, where like the talent is just so much better now that you guys would think, okay, he'll do better than he did just because things are just smoother now, right? And so I get that with Reese. But at the same time, yeah, I'm kind of on that page where it's like LSU feels like they have the Riz right now. So I don't know. What about you, Michael?
All right, real quick before I get to that. So Tommy Reese needs to change his name to be taken seriously.
Okay.
He needs to be either Thomas or Tom. It's just Tommy is a kid name.
Hmm.
Rugrats. We're
But
It's
talking
like Bobby
Rugrats
Petrino.
here.
Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly. But so I went way out there with this, and I really do believe it. Now, would I be shocked if it doesn't happen? No, but I took Ole Miss to be honest, because nobody else took them. So earlier in the off season, we had Grayson Weir on, who was he writes for Outkick about Ole Miss, and he's an Ole Miss
Hmm.
alum and everything. And he got me drinking the Kool Aid like hardcore, like in the Grove, like I'm ready to go
Hmm.
with it. Whether it's Jackson Dart, Spencer Sanders, whoever, and the defense with Pete Golding. I don't think Pete Golding is as bad as what Alabama fans would let onto it. And I do think they're going to be improved, even if the defense is marginally better.
Hmm.
I think they're going to be good. I think they'll upset either Alabama or LSU. I think I said earlier, I think they're going to beat both. I don't really think they're going to beat both. Like honestly, like even thinking about it the last like week or two, probably not. But they're going to get somebody.
Mhm.
Do I think they're going to beat Georgia? No, because it's in Athens, especially that late in the season.
Oh, they play y'all too. That's a hard schedule. Dang. Okay.
Oh, it's a banger. But like I mean, and they play Tulane, in
Week
New
two
Orleans. So
in New Orleans.
yep, mhm.
Oh no.
It's going to be tough. But
The
okay,
best team of Louisiana last year to
yeah.
the Tulane Green Wave.
But even I mean even with that, playing. I mean, obviously the Tulane, if they lose to Tulane, that's not going to count against their SEC schedule. But
Right.
it's more so a indictment on like what I think Alabama's going to be. Like if they lose 2 or 3 games, but Ole Miss beats them, they have a tiebreaker over them even if they lose 2 games. So do I think the LSU like the SEC West is going to be like undefeated going into the SEC championship? Probably not. I mean, it rarely is,
Mhm.
but. I want to see something different, especially in this last year of East versus West. I want to see Ole Miss make it. I want to see Lane Kiffin versus Kirby Smart. I mean, it would be fun. I mean, it's even the week going into it, like all the shit talking that Lane would have would be fun.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
No, they're fun. I've always like I think Lane is like I always joke about he's like the Elon Musk of college football. Like he's just on
Exactly.
kind of a
Yeah.
different beat of everyone. He's interesting. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so
Mm.
I think we've had some fun games against him for sure. But yeah, I would love. I mean, as an LSU fan, I would love LSU to win the West. But if it's not
Yeah.
LSU, anyone but Bama.
Exactly. Yeah. Or
I just want it to be known for all the people that are listening and not watching. Mike has been sipping the LSU Kool-Aid so hard, he's actually been
Ole Miss.
wearing pastel
Oh,
polos, chubby shorts, and Sperry's every week. Um,
Ole
like,
Miss, not LSU. I mean, I love
yeah,
LSU.
yeah. Ole
Don't
Miss.
get me wrong,
Ole Miss,
but
not LSU.
yeah,
His dad
Miss
is
more so.
becoming a lawyer before our eyes. Like he's
Yeah.
starting to grow the Bama bangs. He's starting
Yep.
to really get the tight shirt, the pop. Yeah, he's ready to go.
He
The
actually
shirt
sent
I'm
me a
wearing right
picture
now, way too
of the
tight.
legal paperwork to to change his name to um, Jason. But there's a EIGH in there somewhere, actually.
That's a good
JCN.
one.
Yeah.
JC.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Any other tangents we want to go on and take 5 minutes to talk about random stuff? I'm sure
I got
everybody loves
one.
it.
I got one more. So, Will, do you have any like disrespectful Georgia takes that we can use to fuel us the rest of the season?
No,
Damn it.
it's funny, man. I just don't have this bad relationship with Georgia people. Like I got hired into a team. It was me and 3 Georgia grads, and that was the whole team. And they've
Yeah.
been cool to me the whole time. Our new like head of production is a huge Georgia fan. Like she like bleeds red and black. And like she walked into my little like not even office but, like cubicle, and it had like the picture of it's like Chase picking up Jefferson, and it was like from it was like from a random place. It wasn't even the national championship, and she was just immediately talking shit. I was like, "What did I do?" I was like, "I'm happy this was last year." I was like, "I'm happy." I thought we'd be 7-6 after that first game. I don't know what to tell you, but like, yeah, I mean, Georgia fans don't really like don't because like I said, it's a kind of a mutual enemies thing. It's like we both
Yeah.
hate Alabama, we both hate Florida. I don't enjoy watching
Yeah.
Tennessee win. I didn't know how much I didn't enjoy that until they were good for the first time since the Bush administration. But brother, do I not like those people? And I want them. I wish bad things on their football team.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. There
Exactly.
we go.
Mike, I do feel like you need to tell Will about the LSU thing you sent me earlier. What you said you were gonna, what you about Nussmeyer?
Oh, so shit. Okay, so so if Jaden Daniels like kind of falls on his face a little bit, is it appropriate to say we're already busting Nuss and let Garrett Nussmeyer come out there?
So the thing about that man is like it's such a like okay. So our offense was I hate to be like Mr. Buzzkill guy, but our offense was so flawed last year, and Jaden helped us
Yeah.
so much. And like the redneck LSU fans that just immediately called for Jaden's head, I hated that so much because it
Yeah.
felt a little bit shadily motivated. If you catch my drift there, and I was like, let's
Had
give
a little bit
Jaden
of the
a
ism
chance.
to
So
it.
a little bit of the yeah, it was a little bit
Little
of the you
bit.
haven't really seen this guy play since Arkansas when he wasn't good in 2020. And he balled out in the SC championship game. Like he truly,
Mhm.
I will give him his flowers. He made me believe for like 30 seconds there when they were playing Colin Baton Rouge, and then we promptly got like shut out on the one. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the future. I really am. I've always joked that like, I mean, for how much of our lives has LSU had a quarterback? It was Mettenberger, who was another Georgia transfer, and and Burrow, obviously, who was a transfer, and now we have like two guys that are okay. If something were to happen to Jaden, I wouldn't be like freaking out. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
it used to just be I knew our quarterback was trash, so I just had to plan accordingly. Now it's like, okay, we might have a guy, but we never did. Now it's like I know what Jaden is. I know if he ends up not playing like the SEC championship game, it wasn't like, oh, this is going to be a 70-20 game. It was like we're at least going to be respectable. Like it'll still be a beatdown, but it won't. We'll have some fun moments, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of excited for the future for the first time because like not to like get deep in LSU recruiting, but Colin Hurley is going to be like the future of LSU football. So we kind of have like one, two, three kind of lined up, committed, ready to go, and I just have never felt that way before.
Nice.
So, will you endorse the "It's time to bust a us" when it's his time?
Oh, we'll be busting nuts starting week 0 of next year. You know, when the confetti falls for LSU's championship parade this year, and Georgia also gets to claim an AP championship because they would have been robbed on some type of a 1 yard line goal call,
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
then we will be busting nuts immediately as the clock hits 0.
So the
All
so
over the
the second
place.
Tuesday of January.
That it will be nuts bussing season. All right, we'll get some bumper stickers. We'll get a little bus, and we'll be ready to go.
Perfect. We're ecstatic. We're ready.
We're aligned. Okay, we're synergetic
Yeah.
on this message.
All right.
Beautiful.
All right. I think that's it. I know you said you needed to get out of here, so we will not keep you any longer, and we got some more games to talk about.
All right, gentlemen, y'all stay safe. Let me
Thank
know
you.
you're alive every day if you both could. I'm worried about y'all, but y'all make it. You guys are warriors.
Oh, dude, Xfinity said they had some storm-ready Wi-Fi that I got yesterday, so you know, I may not have the power to turn my TV on, but I should at least be able to watch on my phone.
I love that. Like that, how far we've progressed from like, oh, dude, back in the day you'd be out without power for a month. You're like, how do I still have this watch party? Anyway, y'all be safe. I'm gonna take off. Go dogs when
Yeah.
they're not playing LSU.
Hell yeah. Let's go. Thanks, man.
All right, we want to thank Will once again just for coming on and talking to us. The FSU LSU game is the biggest game of the weekend. That is Sunday night. If you have not necessarily been paying attention all off season, um,
Biggest game of week 1 by far.
yeah, because there's like two or three big games in week one, maybe, which is
Maybe.
not normal for how it has been over the last
Mhm.
7 years, but it kind of
Yeah,
is what it is.
there's not a Georgia Clemson or well, yeah, I mean amongst other things. USC, Alabama, all of that. And it's on
Um,
Sunday. It's standalone too, so that's gonna be
yes,
exciting.
yes. Most people aren't working Monday, so there we go too. You can stay up
Mhm.
late and watch it.
Sorry.
So we are going to do a little bit of Florida Utah talk just because we may not have the ability to do the watch party on Thursday. Sadly, um, I mean, Florida's front seven is the only thing that could possibly keep them in this game for me.
Yeah.
It's more of can the Utah offensive line do anything against the Florida front seven, and if they do, I think Utah wins. And if Cam Rising plays at 70% of the level that he's capable of, I think Utah wins big.
Yeah, and I mean, and last week I mentioned that the backup is a walk-on junior. I mean, he's a a bigger quarterback, big-ish. I mean, he's not like Brock Osweiler or anything like that. But I mean, just the fact that Utah, I'm not Utah, but Florida, used for the most part playing at sea level and all that, and going to fucking Salt Lake City. I think that's going to be enough, even if they. And I really hope that Cam Rising plays, but I think it's going to make enough of a difference to where that I think that Utah could cover that 6.5. I don't know about going like with the over under of 44.5, but I do feel confident that Utah can win by a touchdown at least.
Yeah, no, I am also 100% on the Utah. I am 100% on the Utah covers as
Mhm.
far as that goes. Mike, you want to introduce this next game for me real quick?
Yeah. All right. So the UNC USC, um, North Carolina and the fake USC South Carolina. So UNC favored by 2.5. So if for those of you guys that are not used to betting on it and you're trying to get into it, which we encourage you to do that maybe next week. But UNC is favored by 2.5. So in order for you to win that bet, if you think that UNC is going to win by at least that, UNC needs to win by at least 3 points. This is one of the weaker week one slates like that we've had in a few years, like John alluded to earlier. And as you said, and kind of me for that matter as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got
we're not
some
nearly
good news,
prepared
and I've got
for
some
this
bad
hurricane
news.
as much as we probably
The
should
good news
be.
is this Saturday,
And
we
I mean,
finally-
probably by the time it's to us, it's going to be a tropical storm. But going into the game more so, UNC comes in at 43rd in returning production, but has they changed offense coordinators this offseason. The new play caller is Chip Lindsey. So South Carolina is 102nd in returning production, and they had a lot of guys transfer out, including Jaheim Bell and Marshawn Lloyd. Lloyd obviously went to USC and didn't play great in that week 0 game. But they also have a new offensive coordinator in Dowell Loggins. With this being week 1 and both teams breaking in new offensive coordinators, excuse me, the game should come down to defense, which if you're a UNC fan, that should scare the shit out of you. But neither team played great defense last year. UNC was really bad. USC wasn't great. So, again, bullshit. But the Gamecocks just had the opportunity, had opportune turnovers, and then played at a level that they hadn't seen, or they hadn't had in years against Tennessee like that. I mean, obviously they played out of their fucking mind in Columbia, but I think you have this next part.
Yeah. So for me, I personally have more faith in South Carolina's defense and less faith in the skill talent around Drake May. They did have some transfers. They did have a couple guys drafted. I think this is going to be a close game in the high 20s to mid 30s. But I think I have USC winning this one. Personally, zero money is getting put on this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
not
the
feel
line
comfortable with
is
that.
too close. I don't have enough of a read on either of the offensive coordinators. And personally, I think 64-65 is right at what the actual combined score is going to be. So zero of my money is going on either anything in this game.
Okay, so you said, what did you go with again? I'm sorry.
I'm going with USC.
USC. All right. So I'm with you on that. I'm not confident in North Carolina's defense whatsoever. I mean, Drake May is a fucking stud. And the best part about it is he has this year and next year because he was a freshman last year. So we're going to be able to see him even get even better going forward. But because earlier this week it was at 7, and I didn't feel comfortable with that necessarily. But the fact that it's 6.5, I could definitely see South Carolina winning by at least a touchdown.
It's North Carolina 2.5 right now.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at something else.
Yeah, it is North Carolina 2.5.
Oh, 2.5. Yeah. So even more then. So I mean, I meant a field goal there. So I mean, South Carolina, I feel like they can win by at least a field goal. So I feel comfortable with Spencer Rattler and coming through in that sense. In Charlotte, for that matter, too. I know they played there. I think they played in a bowl game with the Mayo Bowl a couple of years ago, or at least or close to that. So they're familiar with it. I feel confident in South Carolina with that.
All right, last game is Florida State versus LSU. Before we get to our bandwagons and Georgia talk, this is the last game we're talking about. We just talked about everything to do with the game with Will. Current line is LSU minus 2.5, over under 55. I have struggled so much with picking this game. And it really comes down to which defense I have more questions with, right?
Yeah.
I still have questions about LSU secondary. I have questions about how that defensive line is going to be able to stop the run game without Mason Smith. I I don't necessarily have those questions with Florida State. Now, what I'm about to say, I do understand it was Anthony Richardson. I understand that. Florida State was able to hold Florida 36 minutes of game time without a completed pass.
Mm-hmm.
In their last game before the bowl game, I hope I regret this, but I got Florida State, and
Ooh.
I think I have Florida State. Obviously, if they win, they cover the 2.5. Once again, absolutely not putting money on this because if I'm not confident, my money does not go there.
Good call. That's very adult of you.
Yeah. No, there's only a few things that I don't like you to mess with when it comes to me. One of those is my money. My second is my sleep. And recently I found out my third is the air conditioning.
Especially now. It is fucking gross outside, even today.
Correct. But, you know, drop the ball at the top. Your boy fixed his own air conditioning, and your boy's me. I fixed my own air conditioning for less than $300.
Ooh.
So
So you didn't drop like $5,000 on a new air conditioner?
no,
At least?
I went to a warehouse shop that normally sells to contractors only. I told them like, hey man, I'm trying to fix my own unit. It's August in Savannah. It's hot. I'm gonna do the work myself.
Mm-hmm.
I need A, B, and C parts, and they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Here you go.
Oh yeah. There you go.
Fix my own air conditioning, which I highly do not recommend you doing if you don't know what you're doing and are not handy. I like to say I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but you give me some time and some resources, and I can figure it out.
Fucking MacGyver. Let's go.
I mean, I figured out how to use a multimeter the other day because normally with electricity, if it's not high voltage, I just touch it, and if it hurts, I know to flip a breaker.
Yeah.
Back to football. Don't mess with my money. Don't mess with my sleep. Don't mess with my AC. I'm not putting money on this game, but I would say FSU and the over. I'm not confident in that over pick either, but that's what I'm going with.
All right. So I'm gonna go slightly different than you because I think we've agreed with the last two, but I got to go with LSU here. There's not, again, I know it's a neutral site game. There's no real home field advantage because like Tallahassee is like at least 6-7 hours from Orlando, if not more than that.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, they might as well have played in the fucking Iron Bowl or like played in like Birmingham or whatever if it was going to be a true neutral site. But okay, I digress. But um, I'm more confident in LSU in this situation. I think the last few weeks when we've talked about Florida State, I've kind of made it known that I'm not super confident in them. Like they could have very well, instead of being a 10-win team last year, they could have been an 8-win team or even worse. If it had, gone slightly different ways, they didn't block an extra point, and, and so on. If Florida didn't fucking suck, that would have been a problem for them too. But I'm gonna go with LSU minus the 2.5. I mean, they can definitely win by more than a field goal there. Again, no real home field advantage in Orlando for anybody, unless you're probably Florida. But even then, probably not. But the over/under, I feel confident that it would be over the 55 as well. Did you say it was going to be over 55?
Yes. I hesitantly said over 55, but you're saying it confidently.
I'm confident in it because I mean we talked about the offenses, or you talked about the defenses being decent. I mean week one, especially if you're playing against a good team, and I know if anybody that's going against that would say, okay, Clemson Georgia was like what 10-7 or 10-3 or whatever. It's tough.
That was two of the best 5 defenses in the country that year, including one of arguably the college football's best defense of all time.
Yeah.
So
at least
10 score is okay.
Yeah. I mean, defense-wise, at least in the 21st century, which I'll take, certainly, if not, not one of the best ones of all time. But I'm on the over on this. And so I feel more confident about that just because uh, we talked about the pass rushers and all that. I don't know. It seems like Jordan Travis and Jaden Daniels, or busting a nut or busting a nuss. Shit, sorry.
Yes. Oh,
Um,
I can't believe you would say that on a podcast. We are
I
clean.
am so sorry. I know people. My mom's probably listening. I'm sorry, mom. Um, but I feel confident that it's going to go over 55. I mean, even if it's 30, 28 is going to go over that. So I mean, I feel confident that it's going to go over that. I feel like the offenses will be a little bit better than the defenses this first week at least. And normally that wouldn't be the case, but I think here it's going to go over.
All right. We're going to move on to our bandwagon picks. Mike, your team is up first. I'll let you take it.
All right, so if you guys remember, my bandwagon team was Texas Tech because I don't think Texas is necessarily back, even though they're going to be much improved this year. But
I think they
Texas
are
Tech
the
is.
team that wears orange and calls themselves UT that is back first.
I would go with that absolutely because I think they're going to have a better season this year for sure.
They'll make a conference championship game.
Yeah, something that Tennessee can't say since what 2007 or
Correct.
six, something
7.
like that. Yeah, so it's been 15 years. Shit. Okay. Anyway, um, yeah, you're not relevant if it's been 15 years. But so Texas Tech at Wyoming. Texas Tech is a 14-point favorite, and the over/under is 50.5. So again, I talked up Texas Tech the last few weeks, but this may come as a shock. But I think Wyoming will cover here, and Texas Tech is still going to win if you wanted to take the money line there. But it's really just because the game isn't Laramie. I'm confident that they'll win that game. If it were in Lubbock, I would definitely take Texas Tech all day with that offense, and just location of it obviously is a lot bit different than Wyoming. But I do take Wyoming here, as much as it pains me to say it, against the spread, but Texas Tech to cover the money line.
All right. I've got Boise State at Washington. UW favored by 14.5 points, over under 58.5. And I think Washington covers this in a higher scoring game and I say higher scoring for it to be Power 5 versus Group of 5, just because Boise State is still very good. I personally think Washington 40 plus, Boise State gets around 20. Um, Boise State is losing quite a bit on the defensive side of the ball. They're returning 58% of their production on that side of the ball. They are somewhere down in the 70s to 100 in returning production. They get a lot back coming back on offense, not so much defense. So I think Washington's going to be able to have their way with them. My biggest question is Washington defense being able to slow down the Boise State offense. I by no means am I saying that Boise State's going to win this game, but I do think it's going to be higher scoring. I'm thinking what, anywhere between 60 and 70. So I'm taking Washington to cover. I'm taking the over. I'm taking the money line. I might do a same game parlay on this, just
Ooh.
because if you do a same game parlay, you also get better odds.
Mm.
And if they cover, hit the over, and win, you can typically like bet $1 and win 10, which is always
Yeah.
nice.
Certainly.
All right. Quick Georgia preview, and before we get out of here, we're going to touch on Georgia versus UT Martin. Not so much scouting the opponent, but rather what we would like to see in this game. I know that I've said it many times on the show. I know Mike agrees with me. I know a lot of you other sickos out there also agree with us. We all want to see the very first offensive play for Georgia be an I formation toss sweep just for Mike Bobo to give a middle finger to the haters. And if he does that and the in-stadium camera does not pan to the press box with him 2 fingers to the air and then throws like a 70-yard play action pass, I'm going to be disappointed.
Definitely. I'm with you there 100%.
And if I see them line up in an I formation for play 1, you can bet your ass I'm pulling my camera out and taking a video of this.
Upload that to IG and all that.
Oh, absolutely. And then I'm going to find the clip from when Bobo got hired way back of where I said, I want Mike Bobo to run an I formation play. And then I'm going to ask all of our listeners who knows him and sent him that clip.
That would be fucking huge. I so badly want to see that because I love the trolling nature of just college football in general. That's why I love Lane Kiffin so much. It needs to fucking happen. Whether or not, I mean, he can go fucking, four wide the rest of the game, but if he does that first play, goated.
Oh, dude, if he does that first play, the person in front of me in the stands is going to feel something poke in the back of their head. Like that, dream come true. Absolutely.
Fucking Spider-Man's behind me. Holy shit.
Did Pinocchio just lie back there? What's going on, dude?
Oh
right.
man. All right. So, as far as I want to see, 'cause I know we have a couple here, but I want to see how well the defensive line plays against. I'm sorry, how well they play after losing Jalen Carter to the NFL and Bear Alexander to an offensive defense over there at USC. And we talked about it, earlier in the week. That was fucking pathetic. But can Georgia routinely get pressure by only rushing four and not blitzing? That's something that, obviously they like to do a lot last year. And obviously want to keep the same, mojo going and all that. And I talked about before that I thought the defense would be closer to 21 than they were 22, which obviously wasn't, I mean, it was a drop off, but not a huge drop off. But I think they have the potential to be just not just as good, but along the same lines as the 21 defense, or at least closer to that, I should say.
So, my first thing on defense is it's actually kind of two-parter. It's mostly about new guys in coverage. And what I mean by that is, if they put Jalen Walker at outside linebacker and let him cover a running back, how does that go?
Mhm.
If whoever starts corner opposite of Kamari Lasser, whether it's Nyland Green, I'm drawing a blank, but any of those other guys that we talked about, how does Tyke Smith do it covering the slot corner position? How does Javon Bullard do at safety? It's all about the coverage, and I know UT Martin's not going to be the best measuring stick for that. But if you don't know what you're doing, these smaller teams can still get a few big plays on you. So if you're lost,
And
go ahead.
I'm sorry, they have nothing to lose in this game. I mean, they're getting the paycheck, whatever amount that Georgia's paying them to come out there. So they obviously they know they're 99% sure they're going to lose this game, so they're going to go out there and try some shit.
Yeah, no, if Jalen Walker or any of the other outside linebackers is covering a running back out of the backfield and misses a step, misses a coverage, takes the wrong, shades inside when he should have shaded outside, whatever it is, they can still make you pay for 15 yards.
Yeah.
It is not like, if this were to happen against Tennessee or somebody, they could take it to the house. I don't necessarily see that being the case with UT Martin. But how many times are they able to get plays they shouldn't because one of these guys that hasn't necessarily played a ton doesn't know exactly what to do in this situation when it comes to coverage?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree 100% with that. I want to see that for sure. So, offensive side of the ball. So, how are the running backs going to be used? So, with all the injuries we talked about, obviously Branson Robinson's out for the season with a torn patella, which fucking sucks.
Oh,
so
was
hard.
It was a ruptured patella tendon.
Yeah, yeah. It is either way. It sounds fucking painful. Can't imagine, but
I don't want to imagine.
No, I don't. I'm gonna ignore that altogether. But obviously Kendall Milton's a little bit hung up with a hamstring injury and all that. Even Edwards is a little bit banged up. We'll probably see him in the game, but I don't know how much we'll end up seeing him. But I do want to see who's going to step up with that. So like I said, hopefully Edwards is going to be able to fill that Kenny Mack role from last year, and hopefully Andrew Paul and Cash Jones,
Cash Jones.
Who?
Cash Jones.
So hopefully he'll get significant snaps as well, because like we talked about in the weeks prior, that Cash Jones, or I should say Kirby, mentioned Cash Jones as being one of the most impressive guys in camp. Hopefully he's able to get out there, and like we've talked about a multitude of times that he's one of our guys. Get some personalized jerseys with him, get him some NIL money from Fanatics or the bookstore, whatever. Try to make that happen this year.
We have
But
reached out to him actually to see if he would come on the show as the biggest Cash Jones podcast in the Georgia sphere of media. But
we need everybody that listens to this to bully him to come onto the show.
He
Please.
doesn't use social media often.
He really, yeah. I think even on Twitter, I think he's had like maybe 3 posts maybe since the spring game. So it's not very often. I've DM'd him a couple times, not to be that weird, older guy that does that, but it's not to talk shit about him or anything like that. It's like, come on, brother, we're trying to hype you up.
Exactly.
So please, Cash, if you're listening, if somebody in your circle is listening, you know where to find us.
Yes. Maybe if things go right, we might even be able to slide you a little bit of nil money. Just no McDonald's bags, none of that.
Nope.
Real over the table. But I'm not going to get too far into that. So offensively,
we're trying to get the NCAA up George's ass either.
Whoa! I said above the table, nil money. That's legal.
Do we have a collective yet? I mean, us.
No.
We should.
We need to get to a point where we stop losing money every month on the podcast before we can do anything like that.
Could be coming soon.
Could be. Offensively, what I'm most interested in seeing, how the new offensive tackle does. Because with all the other 4 positions on the offensive line being cemented, chiseled in stone, tattooed in the skin, these 4 guys are set. That 5th position, I am really interested to see how well they do, because UT Martin knows. They know that, these 4 guys won a national championship. This guy didn't play until the very end of that game and the very end of every game.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to go after him. And, obviously I think at the beginning of the game there's going to be a lot of tight end coverage on that side of the ball, as far as, that's where Brock or Oscar or Pierce Sperlin, Lawson Lucky is injured. No telling if he's going to make an appearance in this game. I hope he does. But whichever tight end is on the field, whatever running back is on the field, even if they go on a route, are going to chip the guy on that side of the ball, at least to start, until you see how he does. But on a 3rd down play, if they get into 3rd and long, where you need everybody on the field being able to go catch a pass, that's where I'm interested to see how the tight end there, or how the offensive tackle there does. I'm not saying they're going to do poorly, but that's what I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
Same. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how the offensive line, shakes out here, at the tackle spots for sure. I mean, it's not really a huge test to get UT Martin, hopefully, because if it is, next week's episode is going to be fucking interesting.
Oh,
even more so than it normally would be.
Yes, absolutely. So there has been something that, before we get out of here, there has been something that I've been thinking about that I'm not sure if I've said it on the show, but I know I've said it to some friends of mine in person, that kind of thing. Guys, Georgia fans everywhere. I'm trying to figure out exactly what word to use.
Bussy.
Not bussy. There's none close to Savannah. There's none close to Athens. I really wish there was a Bussy somewhere in between because I would 100%
Oh,
stop for a brisket.
oh no, that's not what I mean. But okay,
Um,
I do. No, okay, I do wish that was closer to us for sure.
so, Georgia fans, everybody listening, please, if you've been with us as, a fan base for a long time, you've seen the not good years. If you haven't been with the fan base for a long time, we're glad to have you. Honestly, I don't give a shit if you've been a fan for 2 days. But enjoy every moment of this point in the program's history. Because like we heard the jokes, we went 42 years.
41.
41. I apologize, not good at math, Georgia Public Schools. 41 years without a national championship. Mark Richt brought the program back to relevance. Yes. They were in the conversation more years than not. Yes.
Yeah.
Kirby then took it to a higher level where they made a national championship game. Yes. But the fact that Georgia has won back-to-back national titles, even if they don't make the game this year, even if they make it and lose it, this is a time quite literally not seen at any other point in the modern college football era.
It is unprecedented. No team has gone back-to-back in the college football playoff era.
Enjoy it. No team has done what Georgia has done over the last 2 seasons. Point blank, period. Like, no team has gotten the shit kicked out of them in the SEC championship game, made the playoff, and come back to win the national championship. No team. Georgia's the 3rd team ever to go 15-0 last season. Ever. First was Clemson, and they won the 2019 national championship. This was 2018 season, won the 19.
Yeah, I mean, and Bama. Everybody thought Bama was gonna go 15-0 that year, but then Clemson upset them. Don't forget.
Correct. Bama has never gone 15-0.
Yeah. Can't relate.
Can't relate. But that's the point. Is enjoy it because you never know when something crazy is going to happen. I'm not saying that I predict it will this year. I'm not saying I predict it will anytime soon. But cherish these moments while they're here because a lot of us have waited a long time for it. And with that, we are going to get into the Calling the Dog segment. We don't have an intro audio for it, and I'm honestly hoping that when I hit this button on the soundboard, that it comes on, if I'm being 100% honest with you, because we did not test it beforehand. I was, before we got on the show, I was literally putting water in the freezer so when the power goes out, my food doesn't rot. So, all right, I'm going to try it. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, hold.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The good news is this Saturday we finally get some real college football. Southern boys hitting each other hard, just like your Georgia Bulldogs.
If you are listening to us live, it'll just have to be an audio-only feature for right now until we figure out what's going on. So go check the Spotify version. You can fast forward to 1 hour and 13 minutes if you like to. But right here at 1:13 and 29 seconds is where we're going to put it in. So go check it out. I think it's going to be funny. I haven't even listened to it yet, if I'm being entirely honest with you, because up until this morning, we were planning on recording this tomorrow. So, as always, guys, check out the Twitter at FinderPod, Threads and Instagram at nothing.finder.pod, Facebook and YouTube. Search us there. Everything's going up there. If you rate and review the show, send us a screenshot. We'll send you a sticker, handwritten note. Mike was talking about feet pics. Not sure about that. If that's still
I still got you.
Okay. And you can say no to the feet pics. We're all about consent over here at the Nothing Finder podcast. So, as always, guys, remember there is nothing finer in the land
than a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan.
3rd and a mile. Duggan from the 2 will throw it all the way across the field. It's picked up by Bullardy. Bullard got it again. And Bennett to throw, lobs it to the right corner. There's McConkey. He got on his donkey and made a sliding catch in the right corner. Touchdown!